Hi Beauty Fam, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to try first impressions on this new Beiges Serum Concealer by Chanel. I have it on my face with other Chanel products. So if you're interested, you can keep watching. Remember to click subscribe to all my videos below. Commenting and liking helps out engagement on my channel. And with that out of the way, Beauty Fam, let's begin this first impressions review and try on. Okay, so we're going to do a first impression of this new Chanel Beiges Corrector Serum. The Serum Concealer Natural Healthy Glow B40. I have two other Chanel concealers, and what I'm thinking is that I will show swatch comparisons, but I think what I'll do in a different video is kind of do an all-day wear test comparing one side versus the other in another video, so I can give you a more thorough kind of not just a first impressions. So one thing I have on my face is the Chanel Beiges Healthy Glow Foundation. And this is from the same line, Beiges, and this is more of like a natural kind of light glow foundation. It's a bit serum-y. It's not super full coverage, but it's a really nice foundation if you want something between a satiny matte glow foundation and a serum tint. I wouldn't say it's much like a serum tint. It's definitely more thick like a foundation. And then for my primer, I have the Sisley Double Tensor. And that's kind of like my go-to when I'm wanting something kind of like really full, like not full glam, but like higher end makeup. So I have the foundation Beiges in the shade B053, and this is beige olive. And I would say that it's a pretty good match. I think for me, what I struggle with is I don't think I've ever had a foundation that's ever a perfect match. So when I'm looking at myself in real time is that even with the neck, it's a pretty good shade match, but in real life, what I'm seeing is that it's a little bit too olive and too gray for me. I'm actually a little bit warmer in real life. And the way I deal with that is I just, if I get a pretty good base, then I can bring back some dimension and color with bronzer. This came out about a month ago, Chanel Beiges concealer, and it's part of the Beiges series. What I remember of the Beiges, it's kind of like more of like the summer, spring kind of looks. You want to look a little bit healthy outdoors, but it's not like super high coverage. It's about like looking really like more natural and more of a light coverage. So on the Chanel website, this retails for $53, which is pretty much the going rate for Chanel and a higher end concealers. I got this in shade B40 because I did see someone swatches that even though I'm like a B053 or BD51 in the Chanel foundation, I heard that this actually is a little bit deeper. So I went for B40 and we'll see. This is a Serum Concealer Natural Healthy Glow, and it says the first serum concealer by Chanel offers a second skin finish and works to awaken and illuminate the look of the eye area as if you just spent a day in the great outdoors. Provides weightless, buildable coverage. It wears flawlessly without creasing, available in 15 shades. Upon application, dark circles and signs of fatigue look visibly diminished. The eye area appears brighter and the complexion's luminosity is restored. The serum texture, which glides on effortlessly and blends seamlessly, is enhanced by a ceramic applicator that provides a cooling sensation. The formula helps strengthen skin's barrier and delivers hydration for a glow that lasts. For the first use, the eye area is 51% more moisturized. After 8 hours, it is 51% more comfortable. After 4 weeks of use, the eye area looks 30% more radiant and 23% smoother. And so part of the Beiges, and I'm seeing all this with other high-end makeup, they're putting a lot more skincare into their products. This features an 89% skincare-based formula. This Beiges concealer contains white camellia hydro extract, a signature Chanel ingredient, which helps restore and maintain skin's moisture levels. Hyaluronic acid keeps skin optimally hydrated all day. And directions on how to apply. The serum concealer can be applied after Beiges Healthy Glow Foundation Hydration, which actually I put on my face here, and used or used on its own for light touch-ups. Dab onto the complexion using the cooling ceramic applicator, gently pat with fingertips to blend and create a smooth, barely their finish. I never use my fingers for putting on concealer. I use, sometimes I'll put it on my hand and then dab a brush to work it in. And I usually do this for all of my concealers, but I usually use color correction. But for this video, why don't I do two things? Why don't I put color corrector on one eye, what I normally would do? And I haven't found a concealer where I can't do this. So my routine, just so you know, is usually that I have skincare under eye cream now. However, when I put makeup on, I always put the Chanel Hydra Beauty Micro Gel Yip. Okay, and so this is kind of like, I use this almost like as an eye primer, and I love this product. So I'm just going to use a little bit on one side. It's actually a little bit too much. And what this does is it just prevents any sort of like crepiness. And I just let that sink into the skin. And I make sure not to put too much because then it'll move the product around. So I'm just putting some of that, and in a way it's like a moisturizing eye primer. And for me, as I've gotten older, I found that I have to do this with any of the concealer that I have. And my next regular step then, and I'll show you, is that I would use a corrector. And so on this eye, I won't use any of the hydrogel, like eye primer or the corrector so we can see. But on this eye, I'm going to use what my regular routine would be for any concealer. Okay, so I've taken a little bit of this color corrector. This is the Natasha Denona corrector in C4, and a little goes a long way. So what I'm just doing is kind of working the product into the brush. So this is the packaging. I would say 15 shades is not a lot for a concealer. And what I notice about this product as well is that they don't account for undertones, which is a bit disappointing because I guess they just started doing that with foundation. But I don't think any of their concealers, no, I take that back. They do account for the undertone of concealers. And I'm looking at my new Chanel. This is the Ultra Le Teint. So I have the Ultra Le Teint concealer, which came out this year. This came out about 2 or 3 years ago, this Chanel Sublimage. And then here is the new one. It's the same amount of product as the Le Teint. Different packaging, but it's definitely luxe. It's definitely a weighty glass. So here is the Ultra Le Teint, which is more of like showing you the finish of that product. It's very full coverage and more of like a satiny matte. Definitely more matte side. And then this new Le Beige Serum Concealer is very glowy. It's still very much glass, so it's more of like a natural glow. The packaging reflects what the product will be. So this is what the products look side by side. This Le Beige goes together. Ooh, and I'm already looking at this, like I'm a little worried because, so this is the B053, very much more olive, and you can see it's very pale. So I'm almost like regretting getting this. Maybe I should have gotten the B50. It's an interesting doe foot. Again, it's not like a traditional doe foot. It feels very serum-y. It's very runny, so it's not full coverage is what I'll say. And this kind of shade, when it turns a little bit pink, I get worried because even this says it claims to cover dark circles. This will usually not cover my dark circles because of my undertone. I usually need something like peachy or orangey leaning in order to color correct. Very runny. I'm trying to see if this is buildable. The doe foot's like a plastic nub, I would say. It's not like the traditional ones that are like a spongy doe foot. And I'm gonna spread that around. And this is definitely more of a full-bodied concealer. So you can see already there's definitely more orange undertones with that one, which is what I prefer. So this is more of a peachy, and this is more of like a true, like warm olive. And that's the ones I prefer because that will cover my dark circles. And you can see it's like way too light, but it's very, very thick. And a little goes a long way. I would say that it's like a satiny kind of natural finish. And let me grab my two favorite like top my favorite concealer at the moment, and that's the Westman Atelier. I have it in shade medium 3 and medium 4. And I guess I'll put that down here. This is medium 3 and medium 4. I love this concealer. I think I've gushed about this for the past year and a half, that no concealer has knocked this off its pedestal. It is the perfect amount of coverage for me, not too dry, has really moisturizing elements to it, and throughout the day, it doesn't get crepey or wrinkly. So that is what it's up against, this new serum concealer. And I'm already worried already this is too light. And then I'll put, this is the side that doesn't have any like skincare at all. Oh, it is very cool. Oh, interesting. Oh, it feels really cool. Like cool to the touch. I wonder if this is metal. I don't think it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just the material. Okay, it is. It's like a ceramic. It's ceramic. Let me take some of the product off. It's a ceramic applicator, or what looks like ceramic. Or maybe it's plastic. So I'm getting used to that. It's a little weird to me because I'm used to brushes or sponges. Okay, so that is what the concealer looks like. This is this, let me do the side without the products. So this is the side without anything. I would say that the texture definitely feels very serumy, very light. It's almost like a skin tint slash concealer. Okay, so this is one light application. It is definitely not covering my dark spots or dark circles. So that claim does not hold true for me. Perhaps someone who is like a different complexion or doesn't have really dark circles, that might work for you. But for me, I cannot use this product without some sort of corrector. Okay, so we're gonna go on this side. This is the side that has the corrector and the Chanel eye primer prep. Okay, this side is better. So you can see, like, let me get in close. You can see there was like, here, let me put my head down a little bit. You can see where it does not cover my dark circles. This covers my dark circles more, but it's almost looking like it's a little patchy. Okay, we'll see if we can build it. And what I'm gonna do is actually try a different method of putting this on. And I like to like actually put the product on my hand and skin and work it into the brush. I actually find most concealers for me nowadays do better if I work the product into the brush. So try that if you're finding like the traditional ways of using concealer are not working for you. And don't follow with the influencers that do like the different swatches and like slather it on. Okay, so we're gonna go back into here and see if I can build this up. Okay, so that's 2 applications of the product. So I'm still again with 2 passes. I'm not finding that it's covering the dark circles. I'm gonna go in again. I just put another application. And honestly, this is like too much fuss for me. Like if I had to put 3 applications on of concealer, it's really not worth it for me because I am a busy person. I work outside the home. I like the application of 3 layers best on this. However, like I just said, I don't want to have to fuss and muss around like 3 layers. It's kind of ridiculous. So I'm gonna go into this side, and maybe this side will fare better with like just two passes of the concealer on. And I'm just again working that product into the brush. I think it's okay. I'm not really impressed by this concealer all that much. I will say that I think it looks better after I do the color correcting, but I think I'm just in that season of my life that I need certain types of concealers because of my age and wrinkles and fine lines. Like this is a very, very light, like serum-y concealer, and I usually don't do well with light serum-y concealers. I do well with like thicker concealers with skincare serum products with high opacity. This does not have high opacity. Again, you can see how even like it's drying down of like how thin it is. It definitely dries down like pretty matte. And there's still like a lot of texture with the second one, but yeah, I don't know. I just think it's not that all of impressive of a product. Okay, so what we're gonna do is then, even though I have LeBeige foundation down, I wanna see if I can use this as spot treatment. So, especially on things like acne or like dark spots that I have this unwelcome guest that I've been like trying to kick out of, like cystic acne I'm having here. I try not to eat pork, and I recently ate pork. We were doing like Asian dumplings for Lunar New Year, and yeah, I think I can't do pork generally. Like I haven't eaten pork in like close to a year. And I'm just putting this serum on like some dark spots that I have, and then see if like, let's just for funsies, let's see what this looks like if I can do some kind of contouring and shaping. I'm gonna just like pat the spot treatment of that acne I have down here. And I have more dark spots on this side. This is like the side of my face where I've traditionally gotten more acne. And so I have some scarring there. It's a very serum-y concealer. It definitely, the closest it reminds me to of the past concealers I've used is again the Chantecaille concealer, the one that has a clicking pen. And I'm not a fan of the clicking mechanism. And it was just an okay concealer formula, so I never bought it again. So perhaps like my thing is I already know that I don't like thin serum-y concealers with low opacity. Okay, so I just did some spot treatment. It looks fine. What do you think? This is what it looks like without me even powdering down. This is Addiction Tokyo. I'm using a SURRAT brush, squirrel hair brush, and that's the side again with no other product other than the serum concealer. I think I got away, with the right shade, but I think this again, the undertone doesn't work for me and that it's low opacity. Okay, this is the side powder down with no concealer, or sorry, no corrector or no priming. This is the side with some priming and color corrector. Definitely this side looks better. I think there's like more of a yellow undertone that kind of suits me. And I'm just kind of going in, spot treating, making the product settle a little bit. No corrector. Okay, beauty fam, I finished my makeup. I finished with Nuance Lipstick 198. It's one of my favorite Chanel lipsticks. It is in the Rouge Allure Velvet formula. That's on my lips. And then on my cheeks for blush, it's probably my all-time favorite blush, matte blushes in my entire collection. I've used this for probably over 2 decades. This is the shade Malice, M-A-L-I-C, in number 71. This is the Chanel Jouer Contrast powder blush. This is the only powder bronzer I have of Chanel, and I don't even think they make this anymore. This is a huge bronzer. This is the LeBeige Sunbath Deep Sun-Kissed, oversized Healthy Glow Sun-Kissed powder. I wish they made these again. And I love this when I get a tan. It's just like the perfect color. The makeup is done, but I have to say that I've been using this concealer for, I want to say, over 4 hours. And I have to say it's doing a lot better than I thought it would do. I don't think I liked it at first. And again, this is a first impressions. And what I'll do is do a comparison video and keep trying it. And then I'll tell you, like, after a couple of weeks, what I think about this new concealer. I think it's really a really nice concealer. It's very natural looking. I think it's very on brand for the LeBeige collection, which is, you know, this is kind of like a sun-kissed look, very natural. I love the LeBeige line when it comes out. This year, I did not buy the LOUBOUTIN collection, and that surprised me. I usually try to buy at least one product from the release, but I was not interested in any of the LOUBOUTIN collection this year. I didn't really like, I was not interested in the blush formula. I've come in really not liking liquid blushes. I'm very particular about them. They can be in a tube, or if they're actually Korean made, I like them because I've been doing that for quite a while, but I generally don't like cream liquid blushes that come out of a tube. It's just more of an aesthetic thing and a usability thing. And I know some people went kind of crazy with the picnic basket, or I call it picnic. It's a little bag, but it's a picnic basket. I am not into that kind of bag. I think if you're going to get a bag, you just spend the money on a bag and not really a cosmetic case, which is really what a lot of these are. They're meant to hold cosmetics. So, and you know, some people really love those and glad they got it. I just was not into that entire collection. And I have a lot of lipsticks. I've been trying to have a moratorium on lipsticks, and I was thinking about doing a video on swatching and trying on all my lipsticks by brand. So half of this case actually here, this is like actually a Chantecaille case I was gifted, and this is a makeup case or a travel case, but I use it for makeup. But half of that in this bag is all Chanel, and I wasn't really keen on the Chanel lipstick, the shade, the color this year. So it just wasn't my jam, the entire release. So first impressions I can say is that I think it wears a little bit better than the Ultra Le Tint. And that is this one that came out earlier this year. And I do have a review of it. And let me swatch it again because I spent some time, I did take it off because I just didn't want it, like I was doing other things today and some of it did not dry down. So that's the Ultra Le Tint, and this is the concealer. Definitely a really different formula, different shades altogether. And this is very, very thin and serum-y, the concealer. You can even see that its opacity is not very good. So if you're someone who wants like a full coverage, this might not be for you. This is for someone who wants a very natural looking concealer. It does say that it's buildable, but here's the thing that I found is that it's such a thin concealer and it dries down actually a bit more on the matte side. It's a really interesting formula. Here I spread it so you can see. It is buildable, but it's almost like it's better, almost like if you wait for it to dry down to then build it up again. Because I found when I was like building it on itself and it was still wet and was not dry, it's just, I don't know, it just felt like it was moving around a lot. Let me try another third layer. I mean, I just hold the whole thing about it being buildable, that's fine if you want it, but like, I just don't want to have to build it like 3 different times to get the opacity that I want it to do to cover what I need it to cover. So that was like 3 dips in to get similar opacity of the Ultra Le Tint one. And if you're a person that really needs full coverage, I don't know if this concealer is going to be for you. So that, just put that out there. If like you're wanting a full coverage, the Le Tint is the way to go. What's nice about this is that it's very thin. So I think my first impression is that I actually think this concealer, the serum one, is better at not showing wrinkles and lines. And I think that has to do with the fact that it's such a serum-y thin formula, whereas the Ultra Le Tint has more body. And when you have more body and you have wrinkles, it's just going to show more of the wrinkles over time. And I'm trying to see if I can show that on here, whereas it's melting, the serum seems to be melting in the skin more. And I think that's where you're not going to see as much showing of lines, whereas this Ultra Le Tint, because it's like thicker and pastier, through time you're going to see, like as your eyes are moving, you're going to see more lines. So just something to note about that. I mean, the difference also with the serum versus the Le Tint is that there's only 15 shades of this versus, I want to say there's like 20 of this with the Ultra Le Tint. I like the shade better for the Ultra Le Tint, whereas this is just B40 and like there's no undertones. So if you're the person who's like really needing something with undertones taken into account for what you're wearing, the serum kind of concealer might not be for you. I could see myself really using this serum concealer on kind of like more of those light makeup days. And I almost feel like, I know it's part of the Le Beige collection, but I feel like I actually want, I'm kind of grabbing my my other foundations here. I think that like after trying this out on first impression, I rather use this Le Beige light concealer, serum concealer for the formula of these, which are the Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Tint products. Now these are part of the Le Beige collection too. So I actually think they do better with this where it's like super light, or even something in between of the Le Beige. This is the Complexion Touch. And actually let me do a little bit of like a swatch next to it because it's very like thin, and I'm not going to say watery, but it's got like that thin layer that it reminds me a lot of the Water Fresh Tint and the Complexion Touch, where it's kind of like a barely there coverage. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of these products. And this is the Complexion Touch, which is more opacity. Oh, I forget how much that really builds. Okay, so that's the Complexion Touch, and that's the Water Fresh Tint. I just think it would do better with that formula, whereas this Le Beige foundation is a little bit, even though it's light, it's got body to it. So what I'm looking for is like over time, how is this going to wear? I did find with this Ultra Le Teint, because it's a little bit more full coverage, it also does tend to show a little bit more of the crinkly lines, whereas I'm not seeing that as bad, but it's not like it's completely line or wrinkle proof. I would say that I still love my Westman Atelier concealers. I find like this has a better formula in moving with your wrinkles in your body that doesn't show so much of the wrinkles. In terms of the claim saying that it's going to cover dark circles, actually for me, I don't find that to be true. Perhaps someone with a different skin tone or undertone than me, that this formula will cover your dark spots, but because it's so neutral and almost like a pinky tone, if not neutral, look against my skin. It's just gonna, any sort of darkness is gonna show up underneath this without color correcting. So no, it does not cover my dark circles, at least for me. That claim, it doesn't hold true. Okay, so the other claims that it makes, it looks like a second skin. I would say that it does look very natural, like a second skin. Like I said, this is meant to be more of like a natural looking concealer. So I would say that's, yes, it does look like it's a second skin finish. Works to awaken and illuminate the look of the eye area. I would say that it looks pretty awake. Like, again, it's a very like, the color that I got, I think that is true. So it does brighten up my eyes. Weightless, I would say this concealer is probably the lightest concealer that I have in my collection, or even that I've tried. I'm trying to think of all the concealers I've tried. Yes, and I would say it's probably the lightest one. The closest in formula that I can think of would be the Chantecaille concealer in that Click Up pen, but this is definitely even more weightless than that. Buildable coverage, yes, it's buildable, but for me, I had to build it like 3 times, and I found that having the opacity that I wanted to build it up, you kind of needed to wait for it to dry. So I don't know if you have time to wait for it to dry in between application. Flawlessly without creasing, I can't say if that's actually true. I definitely see some creasing with my eyes, and that's just because I have wrinkles. I don't think anything is really crease proof, but that's just my opinion. Shade range, only 15 shades. That's pretty bad. I think they could do better with that. I definitely don't look as fatigued, but I don't think that it covers the dark circles. So that is like, again, the one thing I don't think, at least for my experience, that that addresses. I do like the ceramic applicator. I think it's more gimmicky. And like I said, it's more about like how I apply the concealer. If you're the type of person who applies concealer with the doe foot, then it definitely felt cool. It's kind of a cool experience. It reminds me a little bit of the Sisley concealer that has that like metal part, which is too big, by the way, but this is like nice. It was like calming, but but cool. But again, I don't put my concealer on that way. I put it on my hand to warm up the product and work in the product with a brush. So the ceramic applicator, although it's very cool, to me, it's not needed. It's too early for me to tell if it strengthens my skin's barrier and delivers hydration. I think it's one of those things over time I would have to notice and kind of judge. This says 8-hour wear more comfortable. I would say it's actually a really comfortable concealer. Some concealer I can definitely feel. I think I can feel this one more on my face, but this one, it's really almost feels a bit like skincare. Like I almost don't even feel like I have any like concealer on my face. Okay, and the first thing when looking at the ingredients, the first ingredient for this formula is actually water, aqua. So that definitely kind of solidifies my thought about this Le Beige Serum Concealer doing better with these Water Fresh Tint or the Complexion Touch. These are water-based products, and I think these would work lovely with these products. So I think for my next video, which I'm going to do a comparison of, like a side-by-side comparison of the new serum concealer versus the Le Teint, which is new also, and then the serum concealer versus the Sublimage one, this really pricey one. I will do a side-by-side, a more in-depth review of that, so keep tuned. Make sure, I think that's it, Beauty Fam, for my review. Make sure to subscribe and click all so you get notification of all my videos when they go live. And then, as always, please be very kind with yourself and others, and just be you. Until the next video, Beauty Fam, take good care. Bye. Bye.